Neva is a brand new indie game by Nomada Studio, the creators of Gris, out now on all major platforms. I remember first seeing Neva shown off in an Indie World showcase a while back, and I was immediately struck by the gorgeous art style, so I knew then and there that it would be a day one Switch purchase for me. My instincts were spot on this time, and what I found was an emotionally charged, beautiful, and ultimately fun 2D platformer, and one of the best indies of the year. Alright, let's get straight into it. Neva tells the story of Alba, a warrior woman, and her wolf cub companion as they fight off the forces of darkness in a beautiful but dying world. While starting off as just a small cub, Neva will grow stronger over the course of the story's seasonal cycle, as will the relationship between the two. No spoilers here, and there is very little in way of plot to spoil anyway, but let me just say I was stunned at how emotional I felt playing as these two over the course of the game. This game really taps into people's love for dogs, and it mines this for all its emotional worth, and it pays off big time. Neva is always there to comfort the protagonist in times of her emotional devastation, just like our pets in the real world. It sounds like such a cliche, easy, and cheap thing to base a video game around, but it works thanks to the insane amount of effort Nomada Studio has put in here, especially in the art department. Looking at this game, you don't need me to tell you how stunning these visuals are. If you needed yet another example of how games can indeed be seen as art, here you go. The 4 seasons the story takes place over are rendered with such superb color palettes and art direction, I had to stop progressing the game at times to take it all in. The art itself serves the story, as your goal is to save this beautiful world from shadowy beings that want to destroy it. I used the capture button more than any other game on the Switch I've played this year, as some of these vistas could be printed out and framed. There is just that much beauty on display here, and in addition to its aesthetics, Neva really has its own unique visual identity. I've never played or seen anything like it. Forgive my crude understanding of visual art, but each frame looks like it was hand-painted, and you can really see that artwork was at the forefront of the development team's mind here. Their goal was clearly to deliver something beautiful, creative, and unique, and it's a 10 out of 10 success as far as I'm concerned. Hats absolutely off. So, beautiful art is all well and good, but it's ultimately meaningless in the interactive medium that is games if the game itself is not fun to play. Well, I'm pleased to report that Neva is a fun yet challenging 2D side-scroller. While it does fall into modern indie 2D side-scroller trappings in its platforming, like the floatiness, double jumping, and mid-air dashing commonly seen, Hello Celeste and Hollow Knight, the movement is perfect, and I never felt the game was too hard to control or too floaty. Platforming challenges are fun, but not too complicated. Some of them have a bit of puzzle solving to them too. You'll have to look at a zoomed out screen and think ahead before you start jumping, like when you'll need to double jump or mid-air dash. Some of these platforming challenges have gimmicks like switches or portals, but gimmicks are all one and done. They appear in a section in the game, then never appear again. It keeps each section fresh and stops the game from being repetitive. Running and jumping in 2D here is as fun as it is in most modern indie 2D side-scrollers. There was a fantastic section that involved the screen being split down the middle, mirroring what's happening on the other side, but with platforms and enemies only displayed on the mirrored side, meaning you'd have to dart your eyes back and forth or play with inverted controls. That was so fun, and I'd never experienced anything like that before, but aside from that, Neva doesn't really offer that much new to a time-honored genre, but it does what it needs to do perfectly. Then, there's combat. You're given a sword to fight off shadow monsters, with not much else initially but a dodge roll. As the game progresses and the titular wolf gets bigger, more combat options are unlocked. When Neva gets more involved in combat, this is where the game is truly cooking. You'll have to fight one enemy by yourself, sending Neva to the other side of the screen to fight off another one. It keeps you on your toes and you'll die a few times, especially in boss fights, before succeeding. It never feels unfair, but it never feels too easy. It's in a perfect sweet spot in terms of challenge. You'll find it hard at first, but master it pretty quickly, so it really gives you a great sense of reward when you clear any major obstacle. To summarize the gameplay, puzzle solving, platforming, and combat all work in unison to create an engaging, rewarding, and not too challenging side-scrolling adventure. I did play the Switch version, however, the aging platform infamous for its performance issues. So how does Neva Neva perform on the platform? Well, I'm relieved to say I didn't notice any performance issues on the Switch, both in docked and handheld. That stunning art style was not betrayed by poor console performance, so I think the Switch is the perfect system for this. I was really concerned about this going in, as the last indie game published by Devolver Digital, The Plucky Squire, was almost totally ruined by its awful performance on Switch, but I'm relieved to say that it's not the case with Neva. I only opted for the Switch version because I do spend a lot of gaming time not at home, so I was once again incredibly relieved it ran perfectly on this creaky 8-year-old piece of hardware. I would recommend playing it on the TV though, as some of the more zoomed out sections of the game make it a bit hard to see where the protagonist is, and to really get the most of the visuals you're gonna want to play on a bigger screen anyway. Finally, the music. Yeah, it's nice. Not too much to say about it, but it works as all good music should to underscore the emotion of the story and overall experience, and it does indeed do just that. It's a lot of pianos and strings bouncing back and forth between atmospheric to epic as all get out. The soundtrack itself has already arrived on streaming services, so I'm sure I'll be listening to it again and again. As for negatives with this game, if you can even consider it a negative, is its total length. It took me between 4 and 5 hours to complete the story. Granted, I didn't get every secret, so I'll replay it at some point. I was just so immersed in this world and experience that I just didn't want it to end. However, this is a $20 indie game by a small team that is short but incredibly sweet, which is all it needed to be. It's not like the $60 Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom I reviewed recently, which I felt was not long enough considering its asking price and who made it, so $20 for Neva is incredibly good value for money. Being an indie, I'm sure it'll regularly appear in sales down the line. To conclude, Neva is a small but masterful indie action adventure that'll challenge you and make you feel all the emotions with its simple but well-told story. Doubly so if you're an animal lover. It's an absolute no-brainer if you're looking for a short but memorable gaming experience. A 10 out of 10 indie that's just perfect for the Switch, so do yourself a favor, support indie devs, support art, and go play one of the best indies of the year. So, that's all from me. I've still never played Gris, so I'm gonna get on that one pretty soon. What about you? Have you played Neva or any other indies recently? Whatever your thoughts, let me know in the comments down below and I'll reply to you. And hey, if you like this review, help a brother out by subscribing. I'd really like to get to 300 subscribers by the end of the year, so smash the bejesus out of that subscribe button and hit like while you're down there. Alright, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.